Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Patriots on Twitter strike again. You simply just can't get away with anything anymore. It's no longer the good old days. That's probably how Joe Biden would refer to it. Times where you could just lie and keep lying, lies on top of lies on top of lies, and simply get away with it all. There's no accountability, there's no video evidence. At least, well, there is limited video evidence, but it doesn't spread in the same way online. In the new information age, you simply can't get away with it anymore. And the more time goes by, the more clips we are subjected to, the more we are confronted with the truth that Joe Biden is the most duplicitous, manipulative, two-faced, lying scoundrel in the modern political era. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some unearthed clips that are just perfectly timed with the most recent revelations released by the House GOP Oversight Committee. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, this clip right over here has to be the most dishonest and the most damning. Joe Biden has been living a real lavish lifestyle. We know that. Everyone knows that. He has a multi-million-dollar net worth, as we know on the surface. Now we're learning that he and his family members were collecting tens of millions of dollars from foreign nationals, especially towards the later part of his vice presidency, and really picking up in 2017 after he left the White House. He's made millions, supposedly able to afford $50,000 a month in rent. You know, it's no small potatoes to be paying $600,000 a year in rental expenses for one property. We understand the Biden family financial scope or financial picture now better than ever before. Yet what does Joe Biden say back in 2018 as he was gearing up to be a presidential candidate in the 2020 election? Take a look at this clip.
When I did my financial disclosure as vice president, a lot of my colleagues got a kick out of the headline in the Washington Post that said, quote, "It's probable no man has ever assumed the office of vice president with fewer assets than Joe Biden." Because I made a commitment I'd never own a stock or a bond, I'd never be involved in a business venture, I'd never accept an honoraria. I kept the promise, and I sent my kids to private universities, and my net worth is what it was when I started, $55,000 to $150,000.
The audacity of this man to stand in front of a crowd and tell them that he has a net worth of $55,000 to $150,000. He's just a simpleton, you know, simple Joe. He's worked his behind off in coal mines and driving trains, driving school buses, saving every single penny, living a frugal life so he could send his kids to good schools. It's bled him dry. He has nothing left. He's devoted his entire being, his energy, and all of his finances to his kids and the next generation. He's the most humble guy to ever enter the political game. Give me a frickin' break. He's a lazy, corrupt politician who sold his soul to the highest bidder, and even worse, he sold his country's interest and national security to the highest foreign bidder. You can't make this stuff up. Oh, you know, the media writes about me as being the most humble man. No man has ever served as vice president with fewer assets than Joe Biden. What a frickin' scoundrel. I've never bought stocks, he says. Doubtful, but who needs to buy stocks when the whole world is your stock market? When Chinese foreign nationals and Romanian nationals and Ukrainian nationals, probably Mexican nationals as well, are basically free ATM machines for you. Quote, "I've never been involved in a business venture. I can't stand this guy. Everything about him is lies." It goes all the way back to that historic flashback, that C-SPAN clip of Joe Biden telling a whole group of people that he graduated first in his class with honors on a fully paid scholarship.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School.
Oh, well, he must have just misremembered. You know, Joe Biden must have just misremembered all of the millions of dollars being funneled through his family into shady LLCs, funding his lavish lifestyle. Joe Biden's never participated in a business venture. You know what? That statement is true, but also not true. It's not true because he's obviously benefited massively off these corrupt business dealings, but it is true because these business dealings aren't really business ventures at all. He just simply sold favorable policy to foreign nationals and foreign entities. He didn't engage in business ventures. He didn't provide anything of value. He didn't do anything. The only transactions that he engaged in were corrupt ones. And here's another clip that's been unearthed. Joe Biden, the most corrupt politician of my lifetime, or at least one of them, lecturing the American people back, I'm not sure exactly when this was. It might have actually been during his time as vice president. Here he is lecturing Ukraine and Romanian politicians on political corruption.
Corruption is a cancer that eats away at a citizen's faith in democracy, diminishes the instinct for innovation and creativity. Already tight national budgets crowding out important national investments. It wastes the talent of entire generations, scares away investments and jobs, and most importantly, it denies the people their dignity. It saps the collective strength and resolve of a nation. Corruption is just another form of tyranny. When politicians can be bought, when courts can be manipulated, when the media becomes a tool of propaganda, there you will find a society that is susceptible to manipulation from the outside. There you'll find a society that loses control of its own destiny. Not only its political security, but its physical security and military readiness is also compromised. We've recently seen that in Ukraine. We saw how over a decade and a half of corruption literally has hollowed out their military institutions and weakened that country's very capacity to defend itself. So fighting corruption is more than just good government. It's self-defense.
I mean, he was spot on there with his speech, especially with the whole media portion, except most of it, in fact, all of it, was predictive of the future, and specifically the future of the Democrat Party and its policies and stances, especially when it comes to corruption in the media, propaganda, and information. But he's lecturing Romanian politicians and Ukrainian politicians about political corruption as he himself is engaging in said corruption. We now have information that the Bidens pocketed $1 million from corrupt Romanian oligarch just as Vice President Joe lectured the country on ethics. He planted his son at Burisma Holdings, where no energy experience, frankly, no business experience Hunter Biden, who at the time was probably a crack addict, was making millions of dollars a year being on the board of Burisma. He put his son in that position of power. They accepted millions of dollars not from Hunter's salary alone, but from other deals, clearly with Romanian businessmen. He then went back to Washington and secured American taxpayer subsidies for the energy sector in Ukraine and the Eastern European region, probably benefited from tax dollars in a certain way, and got kickbacks from deals. All the while, he looked American voters in the face, and without batting an eye, without losing a single night of sleep, he lectured you about political corruption in that region. Not to mention he blackmailed Ukraine, forcing them to fire a prosecutor who was investigating his son. This guy is a liar. He is a scoundrel through and through. Let's also not forget this little beautiful flashback.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business.
No evidence. Joe Biden has never participated. He's never even spoken to his son, even though we have a literal recorded phone call where he tells his son, quote, "I think you're in the clear." Even though we know that he participated in these deals, we pretty much at this point know that he's the big guy. He benefited massively, supposedly, as Hunter Biden said, taking half of Hunter's salary for what was it, 30 years? The guy's a scoundrel. He's a criminal. And all honestly in the worst way. I prefer an actual, authentic criminal who owns it. Maybe he's a little bit slick, but he's a mobster. He's pretty much a shady guy. Joe is the worst because he's shady, he's a criminal, he's corrupt, but then he lectures you about the topic. He lies to your face, he plays a role, he plays pretend, and I'll just end the video with what I said earlier. He is the biggest scoundrel in the modern political era, and he's the president of the United States. It's a damn shame. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.